I hope you go ahead, feel free to go ahead and eat because I'm sure many of you are very hungry, but I'd just like to say a few things as we begin this evening's gala. You'll notice that on the cover of this very fine book that is at each of your places in honor of our honorees, little biographies for each of them inside and so forth, there is this wonderful depiction of the stained glass window in St. John's Seminary Chapel of St. John Vianney, and how appropriate that is on this 85th anniversary of St. John's Seminary, because as many of you know, St. John Vianney is the patron of priests. This wonderful man who spent many, many years in this little tiny village in France called Ars, hearing confessions sometimes for 18 hours a day, getting very little sleep, being known for his compassion and his pastoral sensitivity. St. John Vianney has special meaning for me because I spent 5 wonderful years at St. John Vianney Parish in Hacienda Heights. But a little personal story is that when my parents brought me to the church St. James in Redondo Beach to be baptized, the priest who was going to baptize me asked my mom and dad, well, who are you going to name this newborn son after? And my real name is John, but everybody calls me Jack, my nickname. So she said, well, I guess, John the Apostle, John the Beloved. And the priest just looked at my mom and dad and said, no, we're going to name him after John Vianney because he's going to become a priest. And here I am tonight. It's a true story. St. John Vianney, pray for us and pray for all of our seminarians in a very special way. I'd like to just talk a little bit about my own experience at St. John's Seminary. I spent 26 years on that little hill in Camarillo, 8 as a student, and then 18 years on the faculty as spiritual director and part of the spiritual direction team. I always like to say, well, it didn't work well the first 8 years, so they sent me back for another time, and I don't know if it worked or not. You'd be the judge of that. But St. John's Seminary was so critical in forming me as a priest. And I think even more than the 8 years as a student at St. John's was the 18 years I spent there on the faculty, journeying with these incredible men, listening to their stories, being there to watch what God was doing in their lives as they made that journey of formation toward ordination. And I know there are a number of them here tonight who were there at the seminary when I was on the faculty. And when they come up and they say, well, I just celebrated my 28th anniversary of ordination or my 30th year of ordination. And they'll tell me, one of them even told me tonight, I'm feeling so old. And I said to them, if you think you feel old, well, how do you think I feel? So it's just, the seminary has been so powerful for me. And as I said, yes, as a student, but most especially walking with these countless men over those 18 years that went through St. John's Seminary. And they had to put up with me. And just the joy that we had there, the camaraderie, the community that we built, it's just one of the great privileges of my life to have spent 26 years at St. John's Seminary. When I was asked to be the Master of Ceremonies this evening, I jumped at the chance, primarily because 85 years in existence is quite remarkable. And I was at the seminary for the 50th anniversary. And in some small way, my being here tonight to kind of host and be the Master of Ceremonies for this gala is a very small way of my being able to say thank you to St. John's Seminary for what it was and what it is today. It's also my opportunity to express my great esteem for our honorees tonight. And it's very interesting that every single one of these honorees I have a personal connection with over many, many years. Bishop Alex Ciclon was a student at the seminary when I was on the faculty. Wonderful, wonderful man. Bishop Alex, thank you for who you are. And Father Al Scott, back in 1971, when I was a deacon at St. Monica's Parish, I lived in the room right next to Father Al Scott. For me, he was the exemplar of what a priest is called to be. Compassionate, caring. He reaches out to the homeless. He's never had any fancy title. He's a man of great compassion. As I say, a mentor for me, an example for me, and for all priests. Father Al, what a gift you are to all of us. Father Austin Doran, Monsignor Austin Doran, we had this great privilege of working together at the seminary. And his brother Brian, Father Brian, is a dear friend of mine. But those years working with Father Austin in the spiritual formation team were really gifted years. Esteemed brother. Austin, congratulations. And Father Joe Shea. Oh my goodness. In fact, before the Mass this evening, Joe and I were telling all kinds of stories because where we really got to know each other as true brothers was at St. John Vianney in Hacienda Heights under the famous Monsignor James Aloysius O'Callahan. And I'm telling you, that was an experience, an incredible experience. So Father Joe, many, many thanks for your brotherhood, for your putting up with me, for your sense of humor, for your zeal. And Noel Diaz. Now, all the things that the Archbishop said about his founding El Sembrador 40 years ago, but something little known is that Noel Diaz is also a member of the Order of St. Gregory, which supports the House of Prayer for Priests. So that connection with Noel is very important to me. So I'm just really honored and blessed to be here this evening. And I want to just, in the end, thank a few people who are making this evening very possible. Anonymous underwriters who've donated the beautiful chargers, votives, centerpieces, and linens that you see before you. I'd also like to thank Tim and Steph Bush and Trinitas Cellars for their generous donation of wines for this evening's celebration. We ask you to please enjoy your dinner, prepared with loving hands by Pauline Perry and Joanne Purnell of Good Gracious Events. So I hope that you have a very wonderful evening, a good dinner, enjoy the fellowship at your table, and we'll be in touch later on in the evening. Thank you.